And part of the statement said, I still have love for Johnny.
Yes.
Is that still true?
Yes.
After everything?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love him.
Run.
Hello, human family. How are you? It's Darren. Welcome to another episode of Fully Alive Again. You guys, today I have a fantastic video for you of an analyzation of Amber Heard's latest interview. This girl is just the gift that keeps on giving. So let's do what we do and dive deep.
No tears, no fears. Fully alive again after this years.
Relationship lasted just 4 years. Depp confirming his engagement to me on Today in 2014.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Are you excited?
Yeah, very. She's a wonderful girl. She's sharp as a tack, wonderful, Southern belle, and sweet as can be, and very good for me.
The Swiss psychologist Carl Jung stated, "A particularly beautiful woman is a source of terror. As a rule, a beautiful woman is a terrible disappointment." Brother Carl did his research on this one, let me tell you. You see, the reason I call Amber Heard an apex predator is because the covert female narcissist, especially if she's a very attractive female narcissist, is the most camouflage, protected human predator of them all. And the devastation that they create is no less than what a male predator does. So imagine if the roles were reversed and women who have been abused by men were watching a movement that said all men tell the truth and should be believed no matter what. That you don't need to even investigate. That you just believe the man because man would never do anything to harm a woman. You see, this would be ridiculous. It would be offensive, putrid in every sense of the word. I'm telling you this to convey that everyone's voice should be heard. That's one of the contradictions about Amber's dialogue throughout her interview and at the end of the trial was that she kept talking about free speech. She wants free speech as long as you just get to hear her side of the story and not someone else's. You see, it's imperative that we look at both sides of a story. And that's what took place, and that's what she couldn't accept. You see, a narcissist gets their flying monkeys by a person only hearing one side of the story. Once you have all of the evidence in front of you, and you have sentient, sane human beings listening to the evidence, it's really quite easy to come to a conclusion who the liar is and who the narcissist is. But when we adhere to special interest groups, we don't want to hear. All that we can hear is the ideology and brainwashing of whatever ideology or special interest that we are affiliated to. It is imperative in our healing journey that we listen and are aware of our inner critic and the filters in which we are examining the world through. Because what you think to be a human predator may not be a human predator. What you think is not a human predator may be a human predator. We've all been conditioned in certain ways to think if a person walks like this, talks like this, looks like this, they are this, that, and the other. And that is far from the truth. So be aware and listen and think when you are dealing with people. Just because someone is strikingly beautiful or handsome and very agreeable in their disposition does not mean that they are not a predator. A predator is always, I shouldn't say always, but a lot of the times very timid, very nice, very feminine, very shy. That's the way that they get you. These are the types of people that want to cause harm in your life. All right, you guys, so let's take a look at what this sweet little angel had to say in her most recent interview.
It's been about more than a week since the verdict. As you sit here with me now, has it sunk in?
How could it? It's surreal and difficult. In part, yes. This has been a long time coming.
Do you stand by your testimony and your accusations against Johnny Depp about abuse?
Of course, to my dying day, will stand by every word of my testimony.
That statement just sent chills down my spine. It is so in alignment with what these people are. They just will not stop. No matter what, they will never take accountability. And this is critically important for us to understand, because we cannot force someone to take accountability for their actions. Accountability is responsibility. That's something that only the perpetrator can initiate. We can hold people accountable for what they did, but we cannot make them be accountable for what they did. We can't force them to take responsibility for their actions. This is what makes closure so difficult while dealing with the manipulative narcissist, is that they're never going to own up to what they've done unless their ass depends on it and they need goods and resources or something of that nature. And then it's not a true accountability. As soon as they're resuscitated, they'll go back to the way that they were. And this is exhausting. This is why we must bring closure to the relationship. This is why we have to accept that they will never, ever bring closure to the relationship and the things that they've done.
I think vast majority of this trial was played out on social media. I think that this trial is an example of that gone haywire, gone amok, and the jury is not immune to that.
You think the jury saw it?
How could they not? I think even the most well-intentioned juror, it would have been impossible to avoid this.
People online and crowds outside the courthouse made it clear where they stood.
Every single day I passed for 3, 4, sometimes 6 blocks, city blocks lined with people holding signs saying, "Burn the witch," "Death to Amber." After 3.5 weeks, I took the stand and saw just a courtroom packed full of Captain Jack Sparrow fans who were vocal, energized.
Can you?
See, what you just witnessed there is a tactic that narcissists use in all of their communication strategies. And when you're in the real world and in a relationship with one of these people and communicating with them, what they will do is take a truth about something that you did that was wrong and synthesize it with their logical fallacy, with their deceptive tactic. So is it true that Johnny had a lot of fans that were loyal to him no matter what? Absolutely. But that doesn't negate that she was lying and who and what she is. Is it possible that some of the jurors saw social media? Yes, it's very possible. But to say that they can't think and that would sway them not to listen to her or to see her for what she is a little disingenuous. So when dealing with the manipulator like this out in the real world, what you want to say is, I understand that what you're saying about the audience and Johnny's fans may be true. But for now, we'll get back to that later. I'm willing to have a conversation with you about that. But what I am talking about is this. And you stay focused on the issue at hand. Because they're going to dance around that to a point to where it's exhausting. And if you have to communicate with them and you cannot get away from them and the discussion is relevant, then you do not break your focus. Stay on the topic at hand on what they did that's causing you to have this conversation in the first place. Does that make sense?
Put into words how that felt.
This was the most humiliating and horrible thing I've ever been through. I have never felt more removed from my own humanity. I felt less than human.
Let's go back to the day of the verdict. Were you feeling confident?
That's a great question. I wish I could say yes to that. I want to say yes to you, but it wouldn't be true. Even if you think that I'm lying, you still couldn't tell me, look me in the eye and tell me that you think on social media there's been a fair representation.
Needless to say, she was playing the victim role again. But there's something else there that you really have to zone in on and really understand these creatures to know what she was doing. A narcissist is always trying to hurt their target. So when she stated, even if you think I'm lying, I'm cool with that. But you can't look me in the eye and tell me that social media was one-sided. It was unfair. What she is doing here is that she's trying to convince us to accept her into the conversation and to stop cheerleading Johnny Depp, to give her a voice in social media so she can continue to abuse Johnny Depp. The courtroom I lost. I want to take this fight into social media. That's where I'm going with this thing. Because he beat me there, I'm going to go win that now. This is another tactic of trying to hurt the target. She just changed the playing field. She's setting up the new game of where she's going to use her tactics to abuse this man. This is astonishing. And she's trying to manipulate the public into giving her a second chance and saying, forget about the trial, but please listen to me from now on when I speak on social media. Give me a fair shake. Forget about the vulgar, horrific, manipulative, lying, pathological narcissist that I am. But now that we're on the social media game, give me a fair shake, you guys. Woo! She is an apex predator.
That verdict came less than 2 years after a judge ruled against Depp in a similar case in the UK, in which he sued a British newspaper that called him a wife beater.
There was another trial, dealt with the same substantive issues that had even more evidence in. In fact, my evidence was largely kept out. Really important pieces of evidence kept out.
Oh, Amber, Amber, Amber. That poor baby didn't get her evidence into court. The pictures that she had of her two black eyes, the pictures that she had of her feet cut up and Johnny putting her in a chokehold, all of the real juicy evidence wasn't allowed in, and I don't know why, because they let it in the UK. That is a bold-faced lie. Rest assured, every piece of evidence that she needed to win her case was there. and the attorneys got it in. She didn't have it. And if she does, Amber, why don't you share some of that evidence on the social media circuit? Since they wouldn't let it in, now you're free to post those pictures and those audios. Come on, girl. But I know you're a little angel and you just don't want to hurt Johnny and keep this thing going, so I won't show the real evidence. One thing that narcissists do, rest assured, is that they use people and systems, whatever resource they have and every opportunity they have, to turn people against the target and to use these people and things to justify their abuse and to continue their abuse. What the public doesn't realize, she's abusing Johnny right now. When you go through something like this and you're under stress and you're a target, now he's healed, but it still gets under his nerves when you're blatantly lied to, spent millions of dollars to defend yourself, and this person is continuing to tell these lies. That's a form of emotional abuse that most people in the public just don't understand unless you've been a victim to one of these monsters.
Done differently, handled differently by a judge instead of a jury.
Some evidence is admissible in a UK court that is not admissible in a US court. Do you think that maybe he just had better lawyers?
I will say his lawyers did certainly a better job of distracting the jury from the real issues.
For some people, they just were frankly disgusted by the whole thing and don't have much sympathy for either one of you. Can you understand that?
Absolutely. I would not blame the average person for looking at this and how it's been covered and not think that it is Hollywood brats at their worst.
You see, what she just revealed here is that it's okay for social media to have a negative opinion about me as long as you have one about Johnny too. It's totally valid as long as both of us are in the boat. As long as both of us are going down in the Titanic together, then it's perfectly fine to have a negative viewpoint of me. Do you see that? Earlier it wasn't fair, but as long as both of us are being burned. So what she's really saying without knowing it is that the negative opinions about her were valid. It's just that the vast majority of people didn't see that in Mr. Depth. But they saw you. But it's only valid what you see in me if he's part of it too.
What people don't understand is it's actually so much bigger than that. This is not only about our First Amendment right to speak.
But here's the thing about the First Amendment. The First Amendment protects free speech. It doesn't protect lies that amount to defamation. And that was the issue in the case.
Yes, exactly. You can't go into, the free speech does not protect you if you go into a crowded theater and you scream fire. We get the concept of free speech from the Greeks. My understanding.
Now you have to remember that she had a defamation suit against Johnny too. Johnny and his lawyer. Now doesn't Johnny and his lawyer have free speech too? She also spoke earlier about how social media was unfair. That's free speech. Why do you care? That's what free speech is. See, free speech only works when it's in her advantage. And this is what narcissists do. They find places to hide and they divide and conquer. Free speech is a very sensitive subject matter. It means a lot of things. It means different things to a lot of people. She knows that that's a sensitive subject matter and that if she gets in front of it, maybe she can be the poster child of that too, just like she was with the Me Too movement. Because I can hide there now. I've got a shield. I'm about free speech. It's not about me. It's about free speech. I'm a free speech Wonder Woman. I'm coming at you. I'm a warrior for free speech now. Come on, man. Are you high? Are you high? Come on, man.
The DEP team argued that you were the abuser, that you instigated physical violence, did you?
I never had to instigate it. I responded to it. When you're living in violence and it becomes normal, as I testified to, you have to adapt.
You say you were responding, but there is evidence. There are tapes in which you acknowledge hitting. There are tapes in which you say, I started the fight.
I know much has been made of these audio tapes. They were first leaked online after being edited. What you would hear in those clips are not evidence of what was happening. It was evidence of a negotiation of how to talk about that with your abuser.
But I am looking at a transcript that says, he says, you start physical fights, and you say, I did start a physical fight. I can't promise you I won't get physical again. I mean, this is in black and white. I understand context. But you're testifying and you're just telling me today, I never started a physical fight, and here you are on tape saying you did.
As I testified on the stand about this, is that when your life is at risk, not only will you take the blame for things that you shouldn't take the blame for, but when you're in an abusive dynamic, psychologically, emotionally, and physically, you don't have the resources that, say, you or I do with the luxury of saying, hey, this is black and white, because it's anything but when you're living in it.
But then there are other times, there's another tape where you're taunting him and saying, oh, tell the world, Johnny Depp, I, a man, am a victim of domestic violence.
20-second clips or the transcripts of them are not representative of even the 2 hours or the 3 hours that those clips are excerpted from.
Man.
Could your...
Are you high? Come on, man. Are you high? There was so much word salad and manipulation there that you may have not caught this when she said this. She said, a lot of people aren't like you and I and don't have the resources or the ability. And then how she finished it made no sense. It was completely irrelevant to what she was saying and what they were talking about. They will twist the conversation and do everything possible not to be held accountable for the hideous things that they do. And it's our job to set boundaries and to be accountable for our boundaries. See, we want to worry less about their accountability and focus more on our accountability for the type of boundaries we set to keep these people out of our lives. Does that make sense, you guys? I hope this clears up a few things about trying to get a narcissist to take accountability. And I've got nothing but love for you guys. I really do. I deeply appreciate you guys stopping by. I always look forward to your comments, questions, and suggestions. I don't know everything. My mind is open. If you have something to teach, I am willing to learn. And if you have a question, I am willing to answer. All right, you guys? And always remember, it is better, much better, to go through the hell that we've gone through than to be one of these ass clown narcissists. An ass clown narcissist is internally miserable. Their main goal in life is to get through each day without being demolished by the evilness, self-hatred, and toxic shame that exists inside them. Do not allow them to project that onto you. And if they have, it is time to get rid of it. All right, you guys? And I'll catch you on the next video. Until then, peace. Be well.
No tears, no fears. Fully alive again after 6 years.